around Bangalore, committed to upholding our constitutional rights as citizens of a democratic, pluralistic, and inclusive society. In the recent past, we have conducted discussions with prominent public figures, academicians, civil society organizations, farmer organizations, and labor unions. Some of our previous talks include public discussions on farm laws, the citizenship amendment laws, the union budget, labor law reforms, socioeconomic census, which is also popularly known as the caste census, and on electoral bonds. These talks can be accessed on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel. We request everyone to register their contact details to receive updates on our future activities. A registration link will be provided in the chat box. We are in the middle of a historic election in India where three phases have already finished. Our attention is drawn not just to the speculation of who might emerge victorious, but more importantly, to the concerns of our democracy and the electorate. While experts discuss polling data and predict outcomes, it is imperative that we go deeper into what truly matters to the people of our country. Today, we are honored to be joined by two eminent leaders who have traveled widely during the campaigns with engaging with people on the ground, understanding their concerns, and championing their causes. I'll briefly mention the structure of this program. Each speaker will be sharing their experiences and what they think about the concerns of the electorate. And after each speaker, we'll have a short question and answer session. This session is also being simultaneously being streamed on YouTube. I now invite Professor Manoj Kumar Jha to share his invaluable perspectives with us. Professor Manoj, please. You're on mute, Professor.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bangalore Collective. Thank you, Surajni ji. First of all, let me apologize because I was traveling to 4 different constituencies, just came back and I have to rush back again. So extremely sorry, but you know, it's an important moment for me to share some of the insights which I have gathered. I'm not a cephalologist. I'll not talk to you on numbers. I'll not talk to you that who is decimated and who is not. I'll largely talk to you about my experience in Bihar. In Bihar, probably the national media is not able to capture. People are actually rallying around jobs. Naukri. I mean, this has been actually pushed by the young leader Tejaswi Yadav. He was in government for 17 months and he was instrumental in getting 5 lakh jobs in one go from different departments, particularly from teaching posts. So, in fact, initially we didn't believe that if you go to any village in Bihar and ask, what do you mean by job? They'll tell you Tejasvi. So I think this is single point in Bihar, which is the maypole for opposition. In spite of many divisive, polarizing tactics or even speeches by none other than Honorable Prime Minister and different leaders of his party, including cabinet ministers, generally we have not seen so far above the surface any kind of religious polarization. So that's the success of the job story. And we have been telling, Tejasvi has been telling in every public meeting that governments all over the world are not chosen on the side or magnificence of a temple or a mosque or a church or a gurudwara. Governments are chosen for what impacts your everyday life. What should impact your everyday life? I personally, I hope I'm correct, I find a huge traction while I'm talking to you just before on the eve of the 4th phase. 4th phase is going to take place. We have 5 constituencies tomorrow. So my experience tells me that probably, unlike 2019, and I have spoken to Telegraph in great detail, that 2019 election was not an election to vote. It was an election to pay tribute to the martyrdom of our jawans whose lives were taken away. So I see a fundamental difference between 2019 and 2024. 2019, people were not willing to even speak about their jobs, everyday life issues, and things like that. But today, while I'm speaking to you, I can see that churning across Bihar and some part of eastern UP as well, because that connects Bihar culturally, even on other parameters. So I think, and one thing which again Delhi media, mainstream media has not been able to capture. We didn't do much of publicity, but apart from jobs, generally people from the Dalit community or EBCs or OBCs are worried about the fate of the Indian constitution. Uh, Even those people who only have heard of constitution and at what it provides to them, not through particular articles, say 15, 14, and things like that, uh, generally they believe that constitution probably is not safe in the hands of the regime which is at present there. I don't know. It happened because of some of the top BJP leaders started telling that give us so much seats, we'll change the constitution. And even in village, people know the difference between amendment and change. I think these are two things which I'll convey to all of you, that which is getting traction. I won't say there is no divisive politics. There is, but I cannot see occupying polarizing issues, religious polarization as the central rostrum of our public discourse. Thank you, Bangalore Collective.
Uh, thank you, Professor. We'll just take a few more minutes of your time. We have some questions here. We are just asking people. We have just asked people to share the questions in this chat box, and team, please send the questions here. Ah, Professor, we have received our first question. The economy of Bihar continues to be predominantly rural, agrarian to be precise. Questions of land tenancy relations, prices of agricultural products, and bringing back the regulated market mechanism are perhaps as important as the issue of unemployment and price rise. However, concerns pertaining to the agricultural economy of Bihar seem to be missing from the larger rhetoric. The election manifestos of many political parties, including the Parivat Path, seems to be rather low importance on agrarian issues. Can you please explain this dichotomy?
The question was from Tapas, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, question was from Tapas. I share his worry. I am on the same page with him. You know, this manifesto was largely on some of the parameters which were looking at national level. We will have a separate manifesto very soon because Bihar election is going to take place. If Tapas could examine our manifesto, which we had presented before the Bihar Assembly election in 2020, we were very particular the kind of areas which he has indicated. We had a robust plan for that, but we didn't get the majority. And finally, we got 17 months, not on our own, together with Nitish ji. So apart from jobs, we couldn't do much. But then we are very concerned that the Bihar economy still remains largely a money order economy. We wish to change this narrative, Tapas. Wait for our blueprint when we approach the assembly elections, and that too shall be very soon.
Ms. Jaipal Singh from Punjab has asked how much impact of farmers movement and Agnipath is there in Bihar. And,
I'll tell you, I'll have to quit after this, because I'm getting message, right? You know, Agniveer is getting traction, huge traction. I mean, large section in different parts of Bihar, the guys used to prepare for army jobs. when they come to know that they'll join in 18 and have to leave in 20 at the age of 22, that worries them. So be very sure that Agniveer is getting traction amongst the youth. What was the other part?
There's the other part of this question. There's another question actually. The farmers movement was the other question. What is the impact of the farmers?
Look, farmers movement, because the tenancy level and the land ownership in Bihar with the farmers is different from the northwestern part of India. Still, people are actually rallying around the idea of give MSP to minimum 10 crops which are there in Bihar, and we have committed to that.
One last question is there, which we'll take after this. Will not. So Pranav Ghosh is asking: the jobs constitutions are the rallying points in Bihar. Apart from that divisive politics, this is his question. May this be extended to the rest of India?
I beg your pardon. Can you repeat the question?
The question by Pranav Ghosh is that rallying point jobs constitutions are the rallying points in Bihar. Apart from the divisive politics, like from the side of BJP, may this also be extended to the rest of India?
I think rest of India, apart from the cow belt, in other parts, this was not a major issue. We are not worried about Tamil Nadu, for that matter, Telangana, for that matter, even Andhra. We were worried about this belt. And in Bihar and Jharkhand, if we are able to contain the impact of divisive politics, I think it's a big gain.
Thank you so much, Professor Manoj.
Thank you
for
boss.
your insights today.
Thank you.
I now invite Subhashni Ali, former member of Parliament and Politburo member of CPIM, to share her thoughts with us.
Well, thank you very much. And I was also very happy to hear from Manoj ji. And we are both living and working a lot in similar areas, which he called the cow belt. And I'm in fact sitting in Kanpur. Tomorrow is the voting in Kanpur itself. And this is the fourth phase of the election. It's very important. I think half the seats of Uttar Pradesh will have gone to the polls by tomorrow evening. Now, why I'm saying this is important, because obviously 80 seats go from Uttar Pradesh to the parliament. And of these, in the last Lok Sabha election, BJP was able to get 65. So a large part of its success in the last election was due to Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and other states of northern India, though they did very well in other places too. Now, there are just 2 or 3 things I'd like to say. First of all, I have also been campaigning in Kerala, which is very different, and I have been campaigning here in Kanpur. Now, one very important thing that I would like to say is that unlike 1977 and unlike 1989, when many parties, opposition parties and regional parties came together against the dominant party, which at that time was the Congress, and the electorate was very much divided north and south. In the north, the Congress party was rejected completely, in 77 even more so. But in the south, it still retained much of its hold. And this, I think, was also responsible for the kind of insecurity that we witnessed at that time in those governments. Now, this time, something very different is happening. From all reports, I'm not talking about winning and losing, but from all reports, it seems that the discontent against the Bharatiya Janata Party and the loss of seats by the Bharatiya Janata Party in this election is across the entire country, right from Kerala to Kashmir. They are losing seats. They may be losing a few seats here, more seats there, but everywhere the trend is that they are losing seats. States that they swept in the last election, in those states also, like Madhya Pradesh, like Rajasthan, like Bihar, they are certainly losing seats, and they're also losing seats in UP. But what is important is that they're also losing seats in Karnataka, they're losing seats in Telangana, and in the other southern states. So this, I think, is very important in case an alternate government is voted in after the elections are over. This will be very, very important to ensure, I think, greater stability, etc., for that new government. I think this is a point that not many people are talking about. The second thing I would like to say is that I am sitting in a very, very crucial constituency, that of Kanpur. It's a completely urban constituency. It has been swept by Bharatiya Janata Party in the last several elections. But this time, I mean, even the Hindi mainstream newspapers are saying कि यहाँ 50-50 हो गया है. It's a 50-50 chance between the India candidate and the BJP candidate. Now, this is a very huge change, a very, very big change. And if this change is going to be repeated in much of Uttar Pradesh, then we will certainly see a drop in the seats that they will be able to get, which will, of course, impact on what is going to be their future as far as government formation is concerned. Now, coming to the issues, yes, certainly jobs are a very big issue. Price rise is an even bigger issue. I mean, I find that the people who are talking about this 5 kilos of free ration and saying this is a great thing, which is going to pay dividends to the BJP, they are actually people who've never eaten ration from the ration shops ever in their lives. If you talk to the poor people, first of all, many of them do not have ration cards. Secondly, many of them are not able to access their rations because of many problems like, the fingerprinting and all of that. And thirdly, across the board, everybody says they never have got 5 kilos. At the most, they get 4 kilos. And right now, they are getting bajra, which is something that is not really widely eaten in Uttar Pradesh. So it's not something that is really addressing the problems of literally starvation. Because what has happened is that the subsidized ration that people were getting from the ration shops, 2 rupees and 3 rupees a kilo, that has been completely stopped. So actually, they are getting less than they were getting previously. And if the cooking gas price has gone up so much, then the problem is that even if they get this free ration, the problem of cooking food for their families has become extremely acute. And the prices of cooking oil, prices of vegetables, prices of dal, and prices of every other essential commodity has gone up by leaps and bounds. That's a very huge issue that people raise everywhere that we go. Of course, unemployment, and in Uttar Pradesh, there's the added problem of what they call paper leak. That means whenever the government jobs are announced, state government jobs especially, in the police or in other parts of the administration like Lekpal and others, lakhs and lakhs of youngsters, they have first of all spent, I don't know, put their families in debt trying to prepare for these exams. Then they have to spend on examination fee. Then they have to spend on transportation to reach the place where the exam is going to be taken. And then what happens is that when they come there and they start to write their papers, suddenly it is announced that the papers have been leaked and the exam is cancelled. So you can imagine the frustration and the sense of betrayal of lakhs and lakhs of youngsters, many of whom, because of this constant leaking of papers, are now becoming overage. They will no longer be eligible for these government jobs. And the same with Agniveer. Those who have tried hard and built up their running and their stamina and all of that for army jobs, now they are not interested in Agniveer, and they are now losing the opportunity to actually even try to get into CRPF or something else because the age factor is coming. So this frustration over jobs and this sense of betrayal as far as the governments are concerned is very, very acute in Uttar Pradesh. But I would also like to say that the security of women has become a very big issue here, not only among women, but also generally among families, among men, that what is actually happening they can see it so clearly that people who are accused of rape, people who are accused of, molestation, of sexual harassment of women, they are getting the protection of the state. Whether it is a BJP MLA from Unnao, whether it is the BJP MP from Gonda, whose son has now been given the ticket, whether it is the 4 rapists of the Dalit girl in Hathras, or whether it is the recent cases of Bilkis Bano and now that Revanna in Karnataka, they are getting huge traction here. Everywhere you go, people know about it, people are talking about it, and they are asking the question, those who were admirers of the Prime Minister also, how can the Prime Minister stand up on a stage holding a man's hand who has probably got some hundreds of rapes to his credit, you can say? How can the Prime Minister ask for votes for this man? How can his government and the Gujarat government go out on a limb to protect the rapists and murderers of Bilkis Banu? So it's not as if these questions are only restricted to the states in which these horrifying things have happened. Everywhere people are talking about them, because since people have lost faith in the mainstream media, another very big uh, aspect in this whole campaign has been the role of social media, the role of YouTubers, the role of online news organizations, individuals who just put out very interesting posts. And all this is creating huge waves. I don't see people reading newspapers or listening to the television, but everybody is glued to the phone and listening to this alternate media that has emerged as such an important force in the last few months, and especially in this election campaign. And because of that, they know all about Bilkis Banu, they know all about Bhushan Saran Singh and the wrestlers, they know all about Revanna, they know all about the terrible atrocities that have been committed against women, in which the perpetrators have got the full support of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So I would say that there's a real uh, there's a real wind of change blowing. Now, how strong this wind will become, I'm not in a position to predict, because there's also fear. In the south, maybe there's not fear of that kind, but in the north, there is. But now you see in the last 10 days, more and more people speaking out. When people from, media houses go and ask people, they very openly say, we are not going to vote for the ruling party, we are going to vote for the opposition. They say, अब तो बदलाव की हवा चल रही है. There's a wind of change blowing. This is being said in rural areas in many, many parts of the state. So seeing all this, definitely there's going to be a vote for change. But there is one big factor that people are very worried about, and that is, will this be a fair election? They are really worried about that. And they say the more the BJP faces defeat or loss of seats, the more dirty tricks they will resort to. This is a very real fear. We saw what happened in Sambal, that people of a particular community, they were prevented from voting. They did vote eventually, but they were prevented from voting. They were beaten. And this is what is worrying people. One, will everybody be allowed to vote or not? And number two, will the voting process itself be fair? There's already this discrepancy between the numbers of votes cast and the percentages. Why is the ECI not coming clean about this? Secondly, at the time of counting also, it has been seen earlier that there has been, there have been dirty tricks played at the time of counting. Sometimes the electricity goes off. Sometimes, the counting agents are pushed out of the room and so on and so forth. So that is a very real fear. But I can tell you that this time, it is the people who are actually bringing about the change. It's not so much the political parties. Yes, the political parties are campaigning, they've come together, they've reduced the division of votes, all that is true. But it seems to be the people who, in large numbers, want to throw this government out. And if that is so, then I think that they are going to be vigilant. And if they feel that their votes are not being counted properly or that dirty tricks are being resorted to, they are going to certainly protest against it. They are going to certainly make their voices heard. Now, how much, what all this will lead to, I can't say. But having seen many, many elections in my own city of Kanpur and in Uttar Pradesh, I can certainly say that Uttar Pradesh of 2024 is certainly not the Uttar Pradesh of 2019. The BJP has tried every trick to polarize this election, to make the Hindu-Muslim divide the main point, the main issue. The Prime Minister did it, and our Chief Minister is doing it in every single meeting that he addresses. But somehow, it doesn't seem to be working. It doesn't seem to be finding traction among people. Now, if this trend continues, then certainly this election is going to throw up huge surprises, and probably Uttar Pradesh will play a very big role in throwing up those surprises. But people also have to be vigilant, and they are becoming very concerned about this whole issue of a free and fair election.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your interesting experience.
There's one other point I would like to say, and that is Uttar Pradesh has seen the highest number of atrocities against scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, especially women and young girls and young women belonging to the scheduled caste community. There have been endless atrocities. Girls have committed suicide. In some cases, the fathers have committed suicide. In Kanpur, a father committed suicide just a month and a half ago. And this is obviously something that has found, it's resonating. This feeling that Dalits are being oppressed and atrocities against them are increasing. And when this is combined with this fear that the constitution is going to be changed, that the constitution is going to be replaced with Manusmriti, this is having very definite impact on people. And the kind of impact, I would not like to be an astrologer, but it is certainly shifting sections of Dalit communities towards the India alliance because of the atrocities and because of this fear of the constitution being replaced by the Manusmriti, which is a fear that has been created by the BJP itself. We are talking about it, but had the BJP leaders not made statements like they have made, we would not have been believed by people. Why are people believing it? Because of the experience of 10 years of this government, the hollowing out of constitutional institutions, etc., and also by very, very objectionable statements that have been made by BJP leaders, about against the constitution and so on and so forth. So therefore, this section of voters changing its voting pattern is also going to be very important and impactful in this election. I think there are many questions.
We'll start taking the questions now. We'll start with Sridhar's question. He's asking, is the performance or non-performance of the Adityanath government an issue in the election in Uttar Pradesh?
No, I said right in the beginning that all this paper leak, this is all Adityanath's government. The fact that the papers are being leaked, this is a blot on the record of the Adityanath government. Then in Uttar Pradesh, SC and SC students, OBC students, minority students are not receiving scholarships. They are not getting the grants of scholarships. Their education is being very adversely affected. And with more and more privatization of education, you can imagine the havoc that this is playing in people's lives. Similarly, people know that all the talk about health systems being improved is just a lie. Even the scheme that the central government has launched, many of the hospitals are not accepting people with that scheme or reimbursing because the government is not reimbursing the money. So definitely they have failed. Their failure is known. And that is why he only talks about his anti-Muslim agenda. That's all he talks about. That's the only thing he has to say in defense of his government. And I think that that is not getting the kind of response that they had hoped for.
There's a question from Shiv Sundar. He's asking that in all the pre-election surveys, including the one conducted by CSDS, people's problems are listed as unemployment, inflation as on number 1 and 2. However, the surveys are still suggesting that they don't find problem in Modi's rule. So they prefer him as the PM. Do you think that this has changed on the ground, during the election? As like, what is your experience telling about it in Uttar Pradesh, in Kerala, and in other places where you have campaigned?
See, this is, I think, the biggest change that has taken place. Since this is such a personalized campaign, Mr. Modi is campaigning. Everywhere it is Mr. Modi who is campaigning. So everywhere the discontent is being expressed is also being expressed against Modi. Everybody knows that it is the central government policies to privatize. That privatization is now known and spoken about by everybody. And it's a very big thing that because if there's privatization, there would be no jobs. There's certainly going to be no jobs for reserved sections. So all these things are being known and are being discussed. So it's not as if that Tina factor is working as far as Mr. Modi is concerned, because he's personalized the election. It is Modi ki guarantee. It is not BJP manifesto. It is Modi ne paisa bheja, Modi ne chawal bheja, Modi ne ration bheja. So this entire campaign is a Modi campaign. So any discontent that is being expressed, it's being expressed against the state government, yes, but it's also being expressed against Mr. Modi. And now I would say that somebody's asking about this Mangal Sutra and buffaloes and all that. See, every kind of polarization has two aspects to it. If there's a polarization in which the vast majority of the majority population comes to one side, then it's one kind of polarization. But if it's another kind of polarization in which the minority population feels that they have to now stand up and, and do something about what they're being threatened with, then that also is another kind of polarization. I don't want to go into those details. You can understand what I'm trying to say. But this is also what is happening.
Sai Chandan Koto is asking, you talked about the role of alternative media in these elections. People such as Dhruv Rathi, Ravish Kumar, Ajit Anjum have become quite popular. Can you elaborate a bit more whether this media offers more of an opportunity for progressive politics or a threat?
You see, it's just not these big names. Of course, Dhruv Rathi is a big name. Ajit Anjum, Ravish Kumar, all. And then there's that Lallan Top also. But there are innumerable small YouTubers, small, individuals who are going around and they use a lot of humor. Now, humor is a very, very, very popular way of exposing someone. If you abuse someone, people may not like it. But if you make fun of someone in a way that other people also relate to, then they really react to that very positively. And this is what is happening. People are making jokes about people in government. People are making jokes about the, prime minister, chief minister, their leaders, and so on and so forth. And those jokes are proving to be hugely popular. These guys go with a mic to some village, and before they can say something, the villager has told them what he has just heard on social media, which he found very funny, but also very true. So social media, I think, has been one of the very big stories of this election, which may not have got the attention that it really deserves.
We have one question from Parvati Menon. She's asking, can you describe a day of campaigning in a rural area, say, and typically the kind of responses you get, and how is this different from your experience in 2019 elections? And the second part of the question is, ki how deep has communal hatred against Muslims penetrated, and how will that impact these elections?
See, as I told you, I have been in Kanpur for this campaign because we are not contesting a single seat in Uttar Pradesh, I mean, in the left. But Kanpur being my hometown, and all, so the India parties also have included the CPI very much in their campaign, and I've been campaigning a lot here. But Kanpur does not have any rural area at all. From what I'm hearing, in the rural area, the mood of people is even of greater anger than in the urban areas. There's more anger against the ruling party in the rural areas than there is in the urban areas. And there are some reasons for that. One is, of course, the whole agrarian distress, the kind of joblessness, complete joblessness, the complete failure of all these schemes, supposedly to directly impact people's life. And also the caste composition in many rural areas is very different from a city like Kanpur. Kanpur is still a city dominated by upper caste people. And so there have always been different voting patterns also. So in the rural areas, actually, what we are hearing is that the anger against the government is even greater. But having gone around Kanpur, I have found that places where people were not willing to listen to anything against the BJP, they are, before you can start speaking, they are telling you what their problems are and what their grievances are. And you see, here it's very important to know that here we are in the place which should have been seeing the greatest impact of the inauguration of the Ram temple. That was going to be the big, that was going to be like what Pulwama was to the last election. BJP was hoping that 22nd of January, Pran Pratishtha will be to this, but somehow that hasn't worked. That has not. There are a lot of people who are very happy that the Ram temple has been built. I would say large sections of Hindus are very happy. Muslims are not speaking against it at all. They're saying, "Bhai, theek hai, Supreme Court ne bola." But that is not giving BJP the kind of blanket and blind support that they were hoping for. Now, as far as communal prejudice is concerned, see, communal prejudice, I think it's present all the time, but it flares up or it becomes more heightened when certain things happen, like a riot or something like that. Now, right now, we are not seeing that kind of flaring up. We're not seeing that kind of response. They brought out this population thing, hoping that that would just fire people. But even that, people are saying, अरे ये तो पता नहीं कब से कह रहे हैं, हिंदू खत्म हो जाएगा, मुसलमान ही हो जाएगा, कब से कह रहे हैं. You know, what I'm trying to say is that that kind of a trigger for extreme polarization, that we are not seeing yet. And I hope we continue not to see it.
There is one question.
There's also one more plus point for the opposition, and that is somehow the synergy between the Congress and the Samajwadi Party is much better this time than it was before. Now, even minus BSP, this alliance is finding traction. It has got synergy, and there's a lot of hope generated by this, which is interesting.
Pranav Ghosh is asking that how is cult politics impacting India, and what should be done about it? He's giving an example of this Modi ki guarantee is inspired by, say, versus was inspired by Mamta in Bengal. So how is cult politics impacting India, and what should be done?
What kind of politics? What politics?
He's mentioning cult politics.
Cult.
Yeah. So the question is that Modi ki guarantee was inspired by Mamta in Bengal. So
I really don't even understand the question, so I don't know what I should say. I don't know what he's trying to get at.
We'll move to the other question in that case. It was reported in the newspapers today that Arvind Kejriwal has said that even if BJP wins the elections, Yogi will be driven to backstage in general. How do you react to this?
I have nothing to say about it. I told you I don't believe in astrology. I think that they may not even be in a position to form a government. That's what we should hope for, and that's what we should work for.
There's
But
one question
about the
sorry.
EC, I saw something. See, the EC has covered itself with shame, not with glory. It has been just so partial, so one-sided in its behavior. It has been so blind to the most atrocious kinds of campaigning that ruling party leaders have engaged in. I mean, some of those ladies who are campaigning in Telangana, one can't even describe what they're doing. And similarly, the Prime Minister himself, kind of very, very, very divisive speeches he has made. The fact that Ram's cutouts are being placed near polling stations in Gujarat. I mean, all of this is just so blatantly and brazenly against any kind of norms that the election commission or the constitution lay down for free and fair elections, that is just horrifying that the election commission has not a word to say about it. I mean, they're making a joke of themselves. They remove a cartoon in what I believe in Kannada after the election in Karnataka is over. And what are they trying to prove? It's just shocking.
The question related to the ECI is a bit particular one he's saying that ECI has replied to Mallikarjun Kharge saying that they are not legally bound to share absolute number of votings or constituencies. Is this right as per the statute?
You see, the point is that they are supposed to give all the figures relating to the election result. This is one figure. How many votes were cast? How can you say we won't tell you? What is this? Not? I mean, it's ridiculous. That means you're saying we have something to hide. Why can't you give the figure? And you've got electronic voting. It's all calculated at the end of the day. In fact, each and every polling agent is given a list of how many votes were polled and signed by the officer in that place. So what's your problem in giving the numbers?
We don't have.
They are the ones. They are the ones who are creating this fear among people's minds that the election will not be free and fair. That is the fear being created by these people and their acts of omission and commission.
We don't have any more questions here anymore. I'll thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your experiences with us today. And on behalf of the Bangalore Collective, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for your enthusiastic participation in this talk titled Elections 2024, a halftime appraisal. Your presence and engagement have enriched the discourse and reaffirmed our collective commitment to upholding the principles of democracy, pluralism, and inclusivity. We are truly grateful for your support and dedication to fostering informed dialogue on crucial issues facing our nation. Special word of thanks goes to our esteemed speakers, Professor Manoj Jha and Subhashni Ali, for sharing your insights and experience with us. We are sharing a registration form in the chat box. If you register, you will get the updates of our programs in your email. The recording of this video will be updated on our YouTube channel links, and the links are provided in the chat box. Once again, we thank you, everyone. We are ending the session here. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you all your viewers for asking us intelligent questions, and I hope we have been able to answer some of them.